John Clougherty, I don't really get a lot of officials that'll talk to me, but John he only called a couple of technicals on me, I think, but he was a great official. And the one thing about John I can say now that I wouldn't say to him when he was officiating is that you were going to get a fair game. He's willing to call the foul regardless of whether you were a home or a visitor. And I appreciate that in him, although I didn't always agree with him. I thought he was very good, and he came in sometimes, from what I gather, and told the other officials if he gets out of the box today, I want you to nail him. And sometimes they nail me. Most of the time, they almost nail me, but they didn't get me every time. How you doing, John?
Coach, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I've got Barry, my son, on, who coaches South Carolina, and we've got a show out of Tuscaloosa, and I've been wanting to get you on for a long time. I know you sort of retired from you're not over the ACC anymore. Are you just kind of observing?
No, that's not right. Coach, I am fully retired June 1st. So this was my 11th year as the supervisor. And I told them at the end of last year that I would give them one more year, which my tenure will be up June 1st. We'll go to our spring meetings, and then they'll turn it over. And they haven't named anybody yet to supervise the ACC, but they're in that process now. And June 1st will be the end of my term.
Well, the funny thing about it, you can't say it, but I can. The officials that you try to deal with are as hard as the coaches were. The coaches.
Oh no! You can say it. You can absolutely say it. When I took the job, I thought my 10 to 15 coaches would be my biggest headache. But when on a day-to-day basis, the officials are just as much of a problem, and in many cases more so than the coaches.
Tell me about the change in the rules. I'm glad the 5-second count is off because you had too many counts. But talk to our listeners about the good and bad of the new rules.
Well, I think they're good, and I don't think, Coach, that it's going to. We got to this position with physical play, rough play, through an evolution of allowing too much contact. And we're not going to turn it around in a year. It's going to take a process, but we've got a good start on it. These hand-checking rules are good. Illegal screens, body bumping, even recognizing when the dribbler gets into the lane and gets into a verticality post player. We can't award the dribbler who's looking for contact. So we've done a lot of good things, especially on the perimeter, taking care of arm bars and hand checks and guys coming out and hedging the dribbler, bumping him. And quite honestly, Wimp, those are easy calls to play. Call. They're not hard. They're easy plays. We still have a lot of work to do in the post. Post play is it has always been our hardest area to officiate. Post play and rebounding, jockeying, positioning yourself for rebounds. Those two areas are going to take a lot more time than some of the perimeter stuff. But the perimeter stuff, we can take care. I mean, it's not hard to call an illegal screen, Wimp. If it's an illegal screen, it's an illegal screen. But a guy comes in and posts up, and he posts up hard. There's going to be incidental contact, and how do you separate incidental contact from a foul? So, but I think we got a good start on it, but we can't have any slippage. We got to keep enforcing these changes.
I know Barry's got something, but I want to ask you this: Is it good for an official to talk to the guys underneath the basket? Hey, get off of each other, or is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think some preventing officiating is okay. You can't coach these guys, and I don't want my officials to attempt to coach these guys. But if you give them a little bit of rope and they buy it, that's fine. But you can only do that so much, Coach.
Yeah.
You I tell you what they understand. They understand the whistle. And if they don't listen to you once, you blow the whistle. None of them want to sit on the bench. They want their minutes. And if they don't listen to you, blow the whistle, and that should take care of it.
Okay, Barry.
John, hey, it's Barry. I wanted to ask you, do these guys, do they see film like after the game? I know they don't see it right after the game, but do you guys send them clips of plays maybe they got right and plays maybe there was a bang-bang play and they got it wrong? Are they continuously looking at film from game to game to kind of help them grow as officials?
Barry, actually, let me tell you what we do. I can't speak for the SEC or the Big 12, but the ACC, for the last number of years, we've employed DV Sports, and DV Sports is state-of-the-art technology, and my officials do see their games immediately afterwards. They bring their iPads to the scoring table. DV Sports has a technology person. DV Sports is a replay system, and it's used by the NFL, and we've got it in place. And they hand their iPad to the tech person at the table, and after the game, those iPads are delivered with the game on their iPad, and in the dressing room. Short. I'm talking about minutes afterwards. It only takes minutes to download. And not only that, Barry, that game is delivered to me. It's through technology. It's on my iPad in my home. So if there's a game-ending play that they want to look at, if there's a error in the shot clock or the game clock that they feel like they need to look at, because you can. Being a coach, you know that where the bullets are going to be coming from. So we try to get ahead of that. But they look at all their plays, even questionable plays, I would say, before they leave the dressing room, because they have their game on their iPad.
Well, one thing, this going to the monitor in the last 2 minutes, to me, it's done too much now, or it takes too long. I think there's got to be, okay, you can go over there and look at it. If it's a out of bounds play, who's it off of or whatever, but you got 1 minute to decide. It just seems like now that's all we do. Every time there's a play at the end of the game, we're going to the monitor. Are officials using that too much now? And is it taking too long?
Yeah. I think you're spot on. I think there's a double-edged sword. I think the example you used, I wouldn't believe there was so many close out-of-bounds plays in the last 2 minutes that are bang-bang, and now you're dealing with limited possessions, so the official needs to get it right, but we can't be over there. We're over there far too long. Some of those plays are easy, and you should be able to do that in 15 seconds and get back and put the ball in play, but they go over there, and I agree with you. There's too much time spent over there, but along that same lines, with the technology in place now, I can only see the use of the monitor expanding. They're gonna use it for other. I mean, we use it now for shot clock violations, which we never did before. We use it at the end of the game. We're going to use it for more reasons going forward, I believe.
Should we have a 6th foul?
I like a 6th foul. I like keeping the better players on the floor. I know when you start bringing substitutes in, they're substitutes for a reason, and they're not as good as the first-team players, and the game is not as well played. That's one opinion, Wimp. That's my opinion. I like the 6 fouls, but I also know that I refereed in the Big East with 6 fouls, and a guy like Alonzo Mourning who gets 4 fouls, he never backs off. I mean, he plays as aggressive as he can, so it could lead to rough play.
I've got two. This is a terrific interview. We're going to play this back tomorrow. Let me ask you this. Ball comes off the board just as the 30-second clock goes off, and I throw the outlet pass, and the horn goes off that the 30 seconds is up. Is there confusion there?
Yeah, I think they got to blow, even though it's an outlet pass, and you may have a breakaway play, you got to call a violation, because I'm telling you what's going to happen, Wimpin. And even on your sideline, you or Barry's sideline, if that outlet pass goes off that kid's hands and goes out of bounds, you're going to step up and say, what about the shot clock violation? Because the only safe way to deal with that is go ahead and call the shot clock violation, because if he catches the ball and dribbles it off his foot, you want that violation called because you don't want the turnover. Yeah, you may be giving up a layup or a possible layup, but the referee's got to protect himself and call a violation.
I don't know how much, I don't want to take Barry's time because he asks a good question, but I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but we've been, and I'm not because I coached a long time ago, but basketball in the Southeastern Conference is struggling a little bit, playing-wise, attendance-wise, tournament-wise, everything, and I think it was better maybe when you were here. I think it was, and I don't know if you're able to compare the. Barry thinks it's probably they market it better over in the ACC than they market in the SEC. What little you want to talk about that, I'd like for you to talk about it. I don't know what you can say.
Well, it's a great question, but I haven't been associated with the SEC for at least 11 years. But when I refereed in the SEC, and I'm not saying this because you're on the phone, Alabama was terrific. Kentucky was terrific. LSU was terrific. Arkansas was terrific. And I'm probably leaving out somebody, but Florida was really good. Alon Kruger had really good teams. I just named 5 teams that were really, really good. And I'm not sure the SEC goes that deep anymore. And I don't know what the reasons are. But the league, the SEC had pro players. They had terrific teams, and it looks like they have a few. I don't want to talk about SEC. I don't work there, and I love that league. I cut my teeth in that league, but
probably
I don't think they're as good as they once were.
Yeah,
well, they're not. I'll say it for you. You could be political. It's not even close. But Coach, I want to ask Coach. We talked to so many coaches. John, I want to ask you about the rules committee. Am I wrong about this? Is there an official on the rules committee? And if there's not, why? Because you guys should be the one who knows what plays are hard to call. As a coach, you stand over there, but you don't actually have the whistle in your mouth with the pressure of the crowd, the visiting crowd, the home crowd, whatever. It doesn't seem like to me fair to not have an official on the rules committee to help out with that.
Yeah, and I would hope that you would call Danny Gavitt and tell him exactly what you told me, because there's not and there should be, because they have a great understanding. What they've done is they've taken a representative, one of the coordinators, and one of the officials, and they've asked him for their input. Doug Schaus was the most recent guy who represented the officials, but now he's not on the rules committee. All he is a representative, and they ask him his opinion, but he doesn't have any votes, and neither did I. I was the representative from the coordinators, and I brought film in. I showed them things that I thought were important. They were very cordial. They took that, and then I had to leave the room. There's no vote from a coordinator or no vote from an official.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah,
it just
amazing.
doesn't even sound right.
Yeah. One of the things that bugs me is a head fake.
Can I go back on this for 1 second?
Sure.
The other thing is, and Coach Sanders would know this, there's a difference. On that rules committee, you have Division II, Division III, and the structure of Division II and Division III, their mentality regarding rules is different than, say, the Big Five, the SEC or the ACC, the Big Ten. So the dynamics of that rules committee is made up of as low as Division II and Division III, and that's not to say they shouldn't have representation, but Division I coaches, especially in the Big Five, is different. I think it's different. I think some of the way they think and even the money that they have to spend is different. But they're all one, and maybe I'm wrong on that. But I think the dynamics of that rules committee is mixed up.
That's a good point. The only thing, and I'm going to let you go in a minute. This has really been good.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
A guy head fakes. A guy head fakes with the ball. He doesn't move, but every cotton picking time they call travel. Somewhere along the line, John, you got to get them to watch the feet.
It's hard. Wimp.
Go ahead.
Wimp. I tell you make a great point, but traveling is missed so much because they're looking at the offensive guy and they're looking at the defender. And we had a play in which a kid from Pitt shuffled his feet and did exactly what you said and scores at the end. And it's a clear travel. And it's a mistake we make at the end of the game, but there's so much traveling going on now but that's because they're not focused on the feet. They're focused on the defender coming at the guy and also the offensive guy. But I can't argue. Traveling is we miss it so much.
Tough.
Yeah,
Barry.
Oh, last question. So, John, you guys are in the locker room for the game. Do you guys talk and say, all right, now look, we ain't going to let Wimp get out of line tonight. I had him over there in Kentucky 2 weeks ago. He tried to show us up. So I'm going to tell him before the game that to stay in his box, keep his mouth shut. We're not going to listen to it. Do you guys talk along those lines before you go out?
Well, Barry, I will tell you, for the most cases, they know who the usual suspects are. Okay, so you usually don't have to say anything. But I got to tell something before I may never get this chance again.
Good.
So, no. This may be the last time I ever have this opportunity. So I got to say, one night I was in the dressing room and I said, "Now listen." So I'm going to tell them myself. I said, "When we're in the front court, Coach Sanders is going to be out of that box yelling down there at us." I said, "But when we transition and we get up in front of him, he's going to be back in the box." So I said, one of us has got to look down there when we're in the front court and catch him out of the box, okay? I said, because he's smart enough that when we get back transitioning, he's going to be in the box. But all his action is going to be when we're down in the other person's front court. And sure enough, I caught him one night.
He got me.
I caught him one night. And I think he felt like he got hit by a bullet.
Yeah.
Well, if you're out of the box, you get what you get.
Out of the box. I don't blame you. John, I'm glad things are going well for you. You were a great official. Anytime I saw you on the road, I knew the crowd wasn't going to intimidate you. And to me, guts is the most important thing besides being in position and being in condition, I guess, and judgment. But I knew we were going to get a fair deal, and although I didn't act like it, I knew we were. So I appreciate you being on. We're going to replay this tomorrow, and I hope everything goes well for you the rest of the year.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the call. And I'll just say this. Your teams were good enough. All you needed was a fair whistle, and you were going to win your share of games. Cause I remember your teams, Wimp, and you certainly did one hell of a job when you were in Alabama. But I appreciate the kind comment. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Okay.